Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fourth session of Learning to Teach Online for TED Teachers program. I am Malkanthi Tenabadu, Dean, Faculty of Industrial Technology, and I'll be the host for your program today. And today's session is on online teaching and learning. So it is my privilege to introduce you to the resource person of today's session. She is Professor Shironica P. Karunanayaka, Professor in Educational Technology, Faculty of Education, Open University of Sri Lanka. She is the former Dean of Faculty of Education, Open University of Sri Lanka. As per the qualification, she is a Doctor of Education, ICT in Education and Training. Further, she has postgraduate diploma in education and a Bachelor of Science First Class Honours Pass. So she is a very renowned, distinguished person in the field of online teaching and learning as well as education technology. So I think you will get
supporting
this meeting is being recorded.
the University of Vocational Technology again. I have been associating with the university for some time. And thank you, Professor Chandana, for inviting me to be a resource person in this series of webinars you are having, which is especially important at this time. So let me share some experiences I have in this field for some time now. I have been at the Open University of Sri Lanka for, almost 27 years now. And throughout, since my PhD, I have been engaged in online teaching and learning. I think we will be getting more participants in due course. We have about around 60 participants now. Well, it's not going to be a lecture. Let me initially tell you that I don't like to deliver lectures of 3 hours. It will be more of an interactive session where I would like the participants' active engagement in the session as well. Okay, so let me share my screen with you first. Okay, so I know during this series of webinars, I saw the topics, the previous topics you have been discussing about, and this is the final webinar, I believe. So I think by now you have good ideas or good exposure and discussions about various technological tools and facilities available to engage in the online teaching learning process. Now we are all teachers, but my focus today will be more on the teaching learning process rather than on the technological tools. Of course, we need the tools, but my focus will be mainly on how to use the tools to support the learning process and how it will support our teaching process. That's the main focus. That's the difference between, I saw that you have already exposed to certain technological tools in the previous webinars, but I will be having different activities using some tools during my session. So that's a brief introduction. So this digital transformation, we have been exposed to the digital transformation gradually, but with the pandemic, all of a sudden we were like compelled, or we are forced to suddenly transfer all our teaching learning to the online mode. From the schools up to the universities and all over the world, the global pandemic compelled us for sudden transition to the digital modes. So that became a challenge actually for teachers as well as students, because there are various aspects we have to consider. Anyway, I think we are managing, we have to manage anyway. So we are managing, and but we would also like to keep on improving ourselves, how to better facilitate or how to better support our teaching learning process. So let us start with a small pre-survey about your current engagement, or how prepared are you in the teaching and learning process online. So let me launch a small Zoom poll with you, just 3 questions as a pre-survey. Please answer those 3 questions to start our, it's like a ice-breaking activity, so that I will see how prepared, or how prepared you are to the session, and what are your expectations. Okay, so let me, sorry. Okay, let me launch the first poll. I will give you just 5 minutes. You will see 3 questions. Now you will be seeing 3 questions. Please answer. I mean, that's not questions. They are like your responses. Within 5 minutes, we will see the results. So I think you are viewing the questions now, and please start responding. Okay, good. You have started responding now. I would have liked to, see you and talk with you, but with the number and the technological challenges, that's not quite possible as we do in a physical face-to-face interaction session. So it's a little bit difficult. At least this will be an ice-breaking activity to start interacting with you, so that I will get to know how familiar you are with online course delivery, and how familiar you are currently familiar with designing and developing online learning experiences for your students, and how motivated are you to do this. Those are the 3 questions I am asking. Yes, someone has raised the hand. If anybody wants to ask any question, please do so. I saw someone raised the hand. No? Okay. Okay, I'll wait for until 5 minutes. Then I will stop the polling and share the results with you. Just be frank, because this is just for all of us to get an idea, so that it will be easier for us to move forward with today's session. Okay, only 50% of you have voted yet. We have 93 participants. About 50% have only voted now. I'm expecting at least 75 to 80% of you to vote or give your responses. Because this is also part of the training or part of the exposure, because the idea is how to make the teaching learning process online more interesting and an interactive one. So through the activities, I'm trying to engage you also in such different activities, so that you can consider how to design online learning experiences for your students in an interactive manner. That's the purpose of this approach. Okay, so since it's almost 5 minutes, I will end the polling by 5 minutes, even though only just above 50% have responded. I don't know the reason. Is anybody facing any difficulties in answering the polling questions? You can either type your, if you have any questions, you can type in the chat box, or you can raise your hands. And at any time, I'm willing to answer or help you. Okay, so it's 5 minutes. So I will end the polling now. Only 56%, 55% have voted. So I will end polling and share the results with you, so that you also will see the responses of your group. Only 55% actually. So as you can see, majority are moderately or above familiar with the online course delivery, so that I get an idea that only about 8% are extremely, and 19% to a great extent familiar, and there's 5% just a little, and 1 not at all also. That's interesting. I was thinking about already you all are engaged, at least started engaging in online course delivery. Anyway, it doesn't matter how familiar you are currently with designing and developing online learning experiences. That's because that's my main focus today. Because as online teachers, it's not just delivering online lectures. I am an educationist, so my main focus is about supporting the learning of our students. As teachers, that's our main responsibility. So rather than just delivering lectures is easy. Just deliver a lecture is easy. But then we don't know to what extent the learning happens, whether the learning happens at all. Just listening to a lecture doesn't mean learning happens. So that's why we have to think about how to make sure that online learning experience is a productive one for our students. That's why we need to design and develop such a learning experience for our students. Online or offline is the same thing. Online or offline, we have to consider about that. But in this context, at this moment, our main focus is on online learning experiences. So how familiar? So again, I think majority of you are saying moderately or above, whereas a few of you are saying just a little. So that's again okay, because that's what we are going to discuss mainly. And about motivation, I'm happy to see about more than 50% are either to a great extent or extremely motivated, whereas 25% is moderately motivated and 13% is just a little. But the good point is nobody is saying not at all. So that's the positive thing here. Anyway, so I will stop sharing the results now. That's just to get some background understanding about you and your preparedness or your motivation to engage in this session. Okay, thank you for responding for that. I will stop sharing that now. Right. Okay, so we move forward about your current understanding, because before starting about thinking how to design learning experiences, we have to properly understand what is online teaching and learning and why we are doing online teaching and learning. So I would like to request you to brainstorm. like think. Brainstorming is just quickly think, type one word that instantly comes into your mind about online teaching and learning in the chat box. Just one word that instantly comes. I'm giving just 5 minutes for that. So please type in the chat box just one word which comes into your mind in relation to online teaching and learning. And type it not to me but to everyone. In the chat you have the option to post to everyone so that everyone can see your response, not only me. Okay, I'll give you another 5 minutes to do that activity. So please type to the option all panelists. Just one word quickly. The brainstorming is just immediately any word that will come into your mind in relation to online teaching and learning. Okay, so you are typing in the Q&A, not in the chat. Okay, that's okay. I hope everybody can see the responses of each other. Okay, you say difficult, but good. Interactive, yes. Facilitating. Chat is disabled, is it? Oh, okay, then we will use the Q&A. Interactive, yes. Attractive, interesting. Google Meet and Zoom. Okay, that's interesting. So immediately you think about Zoom when you think about online teaching and learning. Some of you. Google Classroom. One word. I want one word from you. Happy. That's good. Internet facilities. Yes, we need the facilities. Interesting, interactive, virtual, innovative, productive, innovative, remote, Zoom. Again, Zoom. Saving time. Zoom in happy. Okay, chat is supposed to be disabled, but please type in the Q&A. Interesting, virtual, convenient, enjoyable. Janaka Ratnayaka, yes? You want to ask you something? Raise your hand. If you raise your hand, I will ask you to, okay. Risky is also there. Okay, that's quite interesting actually. Okay, so I'll stop the that activity now. And I would like to take some, actually it's good to see the brainstorming, to see the different ideas you are having. Limitations, motivation, yes, teaching and learning. Okay, I noticed that quite a number of you mentioned Zoom and sometimes Google Classroom and Google Meet. Actually, yeah, that's interesting because Zoom and the Zoom came very recently. Online teaching and learning has been there for a long time. We didn't know even Zoom is just a tool. Zoom itself is not online learning and teaching. We are using that tool, yes, but there are so many tools and so many facilities which we can use for online teaching and learning. But just now, we are almost all of us are using Zoom and others like Google Classroom and all. Anyway, so that's good to see you. So that's to activate your mind. That's a brainstorming activity. I mean, there's no right and wrong answer there. But that's just to activate your mind to think about online teaching and learning, so that now your mind is active, so that we can actively move forward with the session. Is somebody raising the hand, or is it by mistake? Okay, right. Okay, so these are some of the, I think, some of the brainstorming words. This is a word cloud created by someone else. That's in relation to online teaching and learning. So I think most of the ideas some of you mentioned are here, like interactive and being flexible, technology. I don't know whether you mentioned about collaboration, but that's something, collaboration and communication, e-learning. So there are lots of aspects. And you also mentioned about the facilities and the risks. I think that's also very important aspects to consider, because in the online teaching learning process, the facilities are essential. We know the challenges faced by both students and teachers these days, with limitations in facilities, yes, and also the risks in the digital learning environments. That's also there. Okay, so that's a brainstorming activity. So now we'll move on with this discussion on online teaching and learning. So these are the things why we are trying to focus why online learning, and how, when, where, how to, especially on how to engage in online teaching and learning, right? So as revealed by your brainstorming activity, I think you all understand it gives us, both teachers and learners, to provide more enhanced or improved learning opportunities, more and more opportunities. Some of you mentioned easy and quick and efficient, so enhancing learning opportunities, as well as the flexibility in the learning process. So I would after this, I will give you some time for some of you to give your comments on this, how we can enhance learning opportunities, how it becomes flexible, and of course access to a large number of learning resources available on the web. We all know in the online learning environments, we have access, and we can give access to our learners to quite a big amount or large number of learning resources. The access is there, and that allows us to provide variety in the learning experiences, give a different learning experience, not the same traditional learning experience, some variety. And of course, the 21st century skill development, we'll discuss about that also. Okay, now let me stop for a while and give time for a few of you to give some ideas, give what you feel about these aspects. This is why we are, or why the significance or the importance of online teaching and learning. Yes. I would not, okay, we have around 125 participants now. That's quite good. So, I mean, any of you, it's just open for anybody to, I would like to hear some voices actually, rather than my own voice. Can you please give some ideas how okay, if I just be more specific, how do you think online teaching and learning enhance learning opportunities? Or how do you think online teaching and learning is flexible, it's being flexible, or about the access or the variety on any of these things? Just give your ideas briefly. Okay, I don't want to, call out names like in the classroom, but I would like, yes, I hope you all are able to talk, is it? Okay, chat is open. I believe participants are not muted, right?
Madam,
Yes.
Malkanti here. Participants are muted, but once
All
they raise hand, we can give the facility to talk.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Or you can type in the chat is open now. So you can either type in the chat box also. Okay, so if somebody raises the hand, you can give. Otherwise, you can type in the chat box. Okay, I understand that. Okay, who has raised the hand now? Somebody has Sri Vijayanandan. Yes, I think you can talk now. Sri Vijayanandan. Yes, I think you can talk now.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is going to be difficult with the talking part. I think better to use the chat, right? Because maybe the connectivity is not that good. Okay, Prashant.
Yes, we can learn new modern technologies. Through that, we can enhance our learning opportunities because it's a new platform. So we can get new ideas. Time to time, we can get the new opportunities and new ideas to teach and learn.
Teachers,
So
right?
through
As
those
teachers.
things, and we can improve our learning opportunities.
Mhm. Okay,
Thank you.
so you have told about both teaching and learning. Yes, both teachers and
Yes.
learners get exposed to novel things so that
Ideas.
you can improve. That's the enhanced learning opportunities here. Okay, so and we have some. If anybody else raises their hand, please give them the chance to talk. But I'm going to read the responses in the chat. Anywhere, anytime. That's something good. Anywhere, anytime, and also another thing. At any pace, their pace, the flexibility. When we talk about flexibility, the flexibility in the time, place, and pace. All three things are there, right? So anywhere, anytime, at any pace, because different learners have different learning paces. You know, the rate or the speed they learn. Some are slow learners, some are fast learners. So you can design according to their pace as well. And also time management. Yes, okay. So at your time, you can manage your time. Yes. So some more responses are there. Flexibility, different tools. Yes, so many different tools are available now. We are learning. I'm going to introduce to you some tools today as well. So many tools. You were already introduced to several tools during the previous webinars. So many different tools, and especially free tools are available. Free tools are available, and different methodologies as well. Yes. So I think that's good that you are thinking about different aspects of enhancement, flexibility, access, and the variety in the okay. So I think we are using both Q&A and chat. Is it? Shall we use only one? Shall we just use the chat? Otherwise, okay, right. Yeah, of course, infrastructure is needed. We know that, but still, amid the challenges, so the challenges are there. It's not only for us, no, all over the world, the challenges are there. Infrastructure and the internet speed, connectivity devices, signal problems. We all see how, but still, with all those things, we are trying to do the best we can, right? And talking about this 21st century skill development, does any of you know what are these 21st century skills? Can someone type quickly? What do you? There are 4 C's in, especially in the 21st century skill development. There are 4 C's. So all these 4 C's can be developed through the online teaching and learning. Does anybody know what are these 4 C's? You can type in the chat box. 4 C's. Can you just guess? C. All starting with C. through online teaching and learning, we can promote all these skills, starting with C, the letter C. Critical thinking, good, yes. Creativity, collaboration, yes. Communication, those are the 4 good. So you already know, some of you have already mentioned. So those are the 4 C's which are referred to in the 21st century skills: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. So that doesn't mean these things are only in the 21st century. These things have been there always. But the important thing is, using these digital tools and online teaching learning methods, we can enhance these very important skills. We just don't want. That's why we need to think about how to enhance critical thinking through inquiry. How we can use the online teaching learning environments to promote critical thinking of our students, making their skills through our learning experience design. How they can inquire about things, how they can gather, evaluate, manage information, decision making, and also creativity. Rather than just consuming whatever the lecturer is delivering, to let the students create things, become producers or publishers of digital content. Let them create digital content by themselves. And also the collaboration. Collaboration is actively participating with the lecturer and contributing to the teaching learning process, collaboration with each other, the peers, and how to support this collaborative and cooperative learning. And of course, communication. We can instantly, now we are communicating, we are at different places all over the country, we are at different places, but we are communicating through these modes and online teaching learning environments. We can effectively and efficiently communicate, sharing with each other our ideas, our resources. But all these things will need this digital literacy as well. Digital literacy is important because when we are doing, one of you mentioned about the risks, yes. So online safety is important for all of us, especially for our learners, and also the responsibilities, the ethical aspects of it, our rights, our responsibilities, and respecting others, the copyright. All these things are included in this online teaching and learning, especially focusing on the 21st century learning skills development. So what I'm trying to do here is to give you this the significance of online teaching learning. I mean, considering this overall aspect of online teaching and learning, so that when, as teachers, when we are planning an online teaching learning experience for our students, whether we are thinking about all these things, we have to, and we can, because an online learning environment, as that's what I mentioned, it's not only Zoom, it's not only the Google Classroom or the Google Meet. They are all tools. And actually we start a real online learning environment is a learning management system, such as Moodle. I know at the University of Vocational Technology, we actually, when I was there, we all created online learning environments. I hope you all are still, I know you are still doing that. I hope these teachers of TVEC also will be facilitated in doing, using learning management systems, because rather than only conducting Zoom and, this, when you use only Zoom, or, people tend to just deliver lectures. But when you're in a learning management system, the learning process can be facilitated further with so many other things, because there are a lot of features, very good features in an online learning environment, because it's mainly interactive, because we have to enable the interactive. There are 2 words, asynchronous and synchronous. Some of you may already know. Synchronous is now we are live. We are interacting live at the same time. So synchronous communication is at the same time. But in a learning management system, you also can have asynchronous. That is, you post messages at different time, like email, but the others can respond to it at a different time, at different times. That's the synchronous and asynchronous, at the same time and at different times. And of course, multimedia. We can, rather than just delivering a lecture, or rather than just giving some textual information, we can integrate different aspects of multimedia: text, graphics, animations, audios, videos. All those things can be integrated in an online learning environment, right? So that's another key feature. And of course, it's an open system. We can give links. We can easily give web links to giving the learner the freedom to move outside and explore and find out new things and come back and share what they have found. So it's an open system, where it's not a closed system where you are only restricted to the physical classroom and listen only to what the teacher says. That's the traditional mode. But this online learning environment is very open. So the learner has the freedom to move outside. The risk is also there. They might go and find wrong information or do unnecessary things. The learners might get distracted. That's where our responsibility comes in, to have that environment designed in such a way that this freedom is used productively and meaningfully. And also the vast amount of online resources available. We all know what a vast pool of resources are available online, and how we can make use of those online resources. And more, we can give this responsibility of learning to the learners. Rather than the teacher controlling the learners can be facilitated, or learners can be supported to engage in self-regulated learning. That is, learning, regulating or managing their own learning, not just because the teacher says so, right? The learner is controlling the learning process. In the online learning environment, that's very, quite easy to do, because the way you design the activities, the learners engage in the activities and they learn through the activities. So they realize what they are learning. So it becomes more and more self-regulated. And of course, an online learning environment is very easy to use. It's just point and click. The hyperlinked environments are very easy to use. And it's easy to learn also. Now, I think all of us are learning very fast. The teachers, even the very young students, very young children, they are learning faster than us. Because they are not scared of the environment online or any digital tools. They are not scared to use. We are sometimes a little bit scared. But they have born in the digital era and they are not scared. So it's very easy to use, easy to learn also. So that's another supportive factor. And of course, it enables collaborative learning and authentic learning. You can link with real world problems because of the facility of updating knowledge. You all know, when we link with real world problems, the learning becomes more meaningful for the learners. This is very, this can be very easily done in an online learning environment, because we can always link with updated things happening all over the globe, all over the world. We can always find out incidents, cases, scenarios, problems, issues, which are linked with your, your subject matter or your topic. And you can link with that and engage students in problem solving methods or case-based methods. There are so many methods which you can link with real world problems. So these are some of the features which we have to think how to use these features. Now, all these features are there, but are we using them to support the teaching learning process? That's the question we have to ask. So let us discuss how we can play that part of a facilitator. Now, we are teachers, but we are not teachers who are just disseminating knowledge. We are facilitators. So we should be providing a variety of learning experiences for our students. It may be using Zoom, it may be using Google Classroom or Google Meet or a learning management system, or any digital tool, but providing a variety in this online learning experience. Okay, so I think, okay, I think by now you realize that the focus is more on the learning process. My focus, as I said at the beginning, the focus is more on the learning process. Now we are all teachers. Now if we are to support the learning process, we have to change our thinking. We have to change our thinking and practices, where we are going to integrate this. Now we are all subject matter experts. No, we all have our expertise in different subject areas. You all are specialized in certain subject matter. Now that is the content. You are experts in your subject matter content, so that we know. But now the challenge is not just to deliver the content, but how to use the technology. How to use the technology to use that content to support the learning of our students. So that's where the pedagogy comes in. Pedagogy is about the teaching learning process. Technology is all these, tools and facilities, technological we have now, and many more things will be developed in the future. Throughout the history, technology has been advancing at a rapid rate, but we have not been using technology to much extent until the pandemic came. We have been integrated, but most of the time I believe most of the time we have seen, because I have been working with teachers for a long time. I myself have been a teacher. Before I joined the university as a lecturer, I have been a school teacher for a decade. Most of the time, even now we see when we work with teachers, most of the time teachers think only about the content, only about the subject. That's why we have this problem of exam orientation, where we expect students to memorize the content and just just repeat what the teachers have taught, that exam orientation or rote learning, we call that rote learning. Now we realize that that's not working. That's not the way. Not now. It has been. It's known for a long. It's known for so much of time. Still, the traditional thinking. It's very difficult to change thinking. No, the traditional conventional thinking. It's very difficult to change. But now is the time, because now we are dealing with technology. We have to use the technology, and we have access to a vast amount of technological tools. So these tools are giving us a lot of opportunities to deliver the subject matter content in so many different ways, and so that it will support the learning. So that's where these three things are very important. Subject matter content, we are all familiar with that, and the technology and pedagogy, right? So these are the three things. But the most important thing as an educationist, I believe, and it's been said for some centuries back, so many years back, that pedagogy is the driver, technology is only the accelerator, right? So those who are driving, I'm not driving, but those who are driving will know, the technology accelerates the process, but actually the pedagogy is the drive of the teaching learning process. So that's why I share this quote with you. So I'll stop here for a while, because I've been talking for a long time, and again give you some time, few minutes time, to share your thinking or your ideas about what you think about this. What do you think about this changing the thinking and practices of teachers in integrating these three aspects: content, subject matter content, the technology, and the pedagogy. So I'll give you a few minutes to again to share in the chat or raise your hand and verbally try to say something verbally depending on the connectivity, or you can use the chat. I'll give you a few minutes for that. Okay, one is there about the in the chat box. I see some idea about not having the facilities. Yes, true. I agree. We all know actually it's a very pathetic situation. But yeah, so I mean, there are things we have to address little by little. I believe those are being addressed in different ways. But what we can do is to support in the way we can, because the pandemic has posed us with so many challenges. Now we have to rely, otherwise our teaching learning process will stop. We just can't stop. We have to move on, right? So that's why we are thinking how to use this, the subject matter content we need to think about, because they need to learn, the students need to learn. So how to integrate these things, the subject matter, the technology and pedagogy, in order to support the teaching learning process. Okay, Iresha has raised the hand. Can someone help me with this enabling unmute of these people who are raising the hands? Iresha, can you talk?
Yes, she has the facility.
Okay, Iresha, can you wanted to talk? Can you say something? Well, I don't know, this raising hand sometimes happens by mistake, or okay, yeah, Iresha or anybody else? Okay, some subject matter. Okay, there's one idea. Anura says some subject matter can't be delivered virtually. Can I ask can you give me an example? Can you give me an example? What sort of subject matter cannot be delivered virtually? I think that's a good idea to discuss. Give me an example. Always think about examples. I'm asking Anura to type in the chat box. What do you mean? I mean, what is an example? Yes, Mohammed. Mohammed. Yes. Okay. While Mohammed is getting the facility. Okay, welding. Okay, here, good example. Welding. Yes, I know certain most of your subject area where you need the practical hands-on experience. Yes, so until you get the hands-on experience, I know the real hands-on experience is unable virtually, but there are ways of supporting to get that until they get that hands-on. Say we can't have them in the group activities or group sessions, but how can you? Okay, I can ask anybody. Now Anura says welding is a subject matter which can't be delivered virtually. Isn't there any part of that subject matter which you can't, which you can facilitate virtually or online? Anura, you yourself can think, or anybody else can think about that? Yes, you can use YouTube videos to show the because that's a process, right, where you need to develop skills. So as a start, you can start showing YouTube videos or step-by-step animations. I'm sure all those things are available. If you search the internet, I think by now most of these processes are available in animated forms. Even virtual laboratories are there. I'm not sure about, I mean, your welding, that sort of subject matter. But for example, say chemistry, or, the science practicals. In most of the countries, they are using these virtual laboratories where these things are, prepared as animations or videos, or, in certain sequences of learning experience. I'm not telling that's equivalent to the real life experience. That will never be equivalent, but it's an option. It's an option until we get the opportunity to do, because until we get the real-time experience, we can't stop their learning process. So how we can support their learning process through the virtual means, that's what we are trying to see. So one is, yes, the practical component. Yes, so to me, yeah, virtual platforms, that's the idea. So in this scenario, that's the idea. Not be negative, not say negative, we can't do this, we can't. To see the that's the creative. Now we also have to think creatively, we also have to think critically and creatively, and collaboratively. We have to find solutions. We are in a challenging situation. So rather than being negative, it's always good to think positively. Okay, we have this, but what are the options? What are the different ways in which we can support students until we get back to normal? I don't know, we know, none of us know when we will get back to normal, right? So this is a very specific situation. So at least we have to promote this, self-learning. I'm happy that you mentioned that, Chatura. Self-study, their self-learning facilities are, self-learning skills, development of self-learning skills is very important, rather than always depending on the teacher. So maybe we have to, that's why we have to plan and design very carefully. Not just telling, okay, you go and practice by yourself, you just watch the video and do it. It's not like that. We have to play the role of the facilitator. That's where the pedagogy comes in. That's where the teaching learning process comes in. We have to support, because they are learners too. If they are students, if they know everything, they will not come to learn from us now. So our responsibility is there to support their learning. So how to do is to think differently, think creatively, how to make use of the available technology to support them learn, So that's where we have to think how we can plan and design the experiences, design the learning experiences of our students. Yes, so I know it's difficult to get active participation of the students. Now I face that problem with these sessions also, getting the active participation of the students. So there again, that's why you have to, in between, you have to make sure that you're using certain strategies to get the active participation. Well, getting the active participation of students might be difficult in the face-to-face classroom also. No, it's not only in the online classroom. In the face-to-face also, that's a problem. That's a challenge, right? But here it may be more challenge, because sometimes, because of the different, the devices or the connectivity, or sometimes the language, there may be different issues. But yes, again, it's a challenge. But then how to use different strategies to get their active participation. So that's what we are going to look through certain examples now. I wonder whether anybody has raised the hands. No. Okay. So thank you for the responses in the chat box. So technology. Now our main focus is on technology, online technology. So it comprises the tools. So there are so much of tools available. Mostly free tools are available, where you have to pay also there, but we don't have to think about the paying tools. There are enough free tools available which we can integrate, and easy to use and easy to learn as well. But the most important thing is the pedagogy. That is about the teaching learning process, how we are planning and designing the teaching learning process for our students, integrating the technology. integrating the technology with the pedagogy and with our subject matter knowledge. This is where the learning experience design comes in. This is our responsibility. As teachers, this is our responsibility. Our responsibility is not only on one aspect, not only to deliver knowledge, right? Or not only use the technology, say Zoom technology, to deliver knowledge. Then that pedagogy is lecturing. That is just lecturing, delivering. But then it's not very meaningful for the learners. Now, we want to make it a meaningful learning experience design. Meaningful means so that the students will gain something out of the learning experience, so that they can practically apply that in their real life situations. So all your subject areas are very practical oriented. I know that in the TVEC sector, and it's very, it's supporting their life skills. It's supporting developing their life skills, job related skills. So that's very authentic. All your subject areas are very authentic. So that's a good opportunity, because you can easily link all your learning experiences with real life. So the thing is, the teacher, the facilitator, you have to have these three types of knowledge. The three types of knowledge. What are the three types of knowledge? The subject matter content. So that we all know. We all know our subject matter. We know very well. That's why we have our qualifications. We have passed our exams. We have our experience. We have been teaching for a long time. So we all know, we are all very comfortable with our subject matter knowledge. Technical knowledge. Now, do we have the technical knowledge? So sometimes we have limited technical knowledge. Some of us might be having advanced technical knowledge. Now, technical knowledge doesn't mean you have to learn all the technologies available, but to be aware of the different technological tools available, which you can integrate to make your learning experience more motivating, activating, and meaningful for your learning, for your students' learning. Now, this technological knowledge, even if you don't know how to, create a Moodle learning management system, but you have the technical help for that. We can get the help from technical people. There are a lot of technical people around us who are willing to help us. But we should know the pedagogy. When we know the technologies, right? When we know our subject matter content knowledge perfectly, we know what we are expecting our students to learn, right? The learning outcomes are there. So in order to achieve the learning outcomes, how we are designing what sort of activities, how are we activating the students, how are we getting the participation. So there we have to design certain learning activities and assessments. We have to design all those things. So designing that part, those activities can be supported with the technology. So when you think that that's our part, that thinking and creative thinking part, then we can get the help of the technicians or the technical support staff to create that experience for us. To create, if we are competent, we ourselves can create the experience using the technology, or we can design the experience and get help from the technical staff to create this experience for us. So this is all about learning experience design, integrating technology, pedagogy, and content. So this is what we should be focusing on in the online teaching learning experience design as well. This is common to any teaching learning experience design, but especially at this moment, where we have transferred to the online mode almost totally. How to do this is should be our concern. Okay, so these are the three types of knowledge as teachers we should have: the subject matter content knowledge, the pedagogical knowledge, and the technological knowledge. Then it will be easy, or it will be, it will support our designing of online learning experiences. Okay, now I am going to ask you something else, right? Now I want you to reflect on your online teaching. Now, few of you said you don't, I think just one or two said you don't have any experience, but a majority of you have some experience, either moderately according to your feedback, either moderately to a great extent, or extremely you have online teaching experience. So I'll give you 5 minutes to reflect on your online teaching using any mode, yeah, right? Using Zoom or using Google Classroom, using Google Meet, or using a Moodle learning management system, or any other digital environments. Think what are the different aspects you consider when planning learning experiences for your students. When planning, I mean, I like to use the word designing, because we are actually, when we are planning, we are designing. Now, for example, for this session with you all today, I planned and I designed an experience for you all. For these 3 hours, I designed a learning experience for you all. So then I consider different aspects. So what are the different aspects I would like you to think, reflect on your own online teaching, and type certain aspects in the chat box, which you will consider when planning or designing online learning experiences for your students. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes for that activity to reflect on yourself, and please type in the chat box. What are the things, aspects means what are the different things you will consider when planning or designing online learning experiences for your students? That's the question. Okay. Yes, the number of participants, the availability of facilities, the level of students. Okay. Yes. Okay, keeping it interesting and interactively. Yes, good. Using videos to enter to the topic. Okay. Accessibility, availability. Planning communication. Maximum 2 hours. Using presentations. Questions and feedback. Yes. Breakout classrooms. Yes, I was also planning to have a breakout classroom today, but unfortunately that's not possible. File sizes, picture quality, availability of internet facility. Yes. Student feedback. Not active participant and list. Okay, so you think about the list participation and how to address that. Elevation of faces and voices. Yes, how to do that. Micro teaching, good. Group chat, team activities. Yes. Okay, good. So, okay, I'll give you another 1 or 2 minutes for this also. MCQ, yes. Presentations and feedback, good. Subject, time, concerns, PowerPoint presentations, videos, group discussions. Student friendly, yes. It has to be user friendly. Very good, yes. Finding means let them explore and allow them to find. Oral questions, yes. Attractive and user friendly. One or two more. Okay, Google Forms, yes, to collect, yes. Okay, good, good. That means already many of you are considering, many of you are designing learning experiences for your students, considering, okay, recorded videos, yes, individual work and group work, good. So thank you for all those responses. So that means you are considering, different design aspects already. So what are those design aspects? Why are you considering the design aspects? First thing is, why are you considering these design aspects? All these are design aspects because you are trying to make the learning experience engaging for the students, effective and efficient. 3 E's, right? To make the learning experience engaging, effective, and efficient. So what are the different, now you mentioned so many things. I read out so that everybody can listen to all the responses in the chat box. What are these? If we categorize them, you will see you are designing your information. You are designing now it's time to think how the things you are doing, what are the real design aspects. You are designing the information in different ways. Now, for example, you mentioned, some of you mentioned PowerPoint presentations. So the information you have to present, you can present in different ways. No, you can present it in a PowerPoint presentation. So that's one way of designing information. Or some of you mentioned pre-recorded video. So there you are presenting your information in a pre-recorded video. So that's the way you have decided how you are designing information. Or you you might be creating an information booklet or an information guidebook and upload it for students to read and understand. So there are different ways you can design information, right? And also designing instruction. Now, some of you said, many of you said actually, activities, Q&A, individual and group activities. So all those are different activities where you are designing instructional design, whether the students are actively engaged in the learning process. So that's what you are doing. You are designing the instruction, the pedagogy is there, and how you are designing the interactions among them also, whether you are encouraging interactions between them, right? And also some of you said user-friendly, attractive, you use certain words, right? User-friendly, attractive, and clear, and motivating. That's the interface. Interface is how you see your learning environment. The learning environment can be the PowerPoint presentation like this. I mean, the Zoom session, you are using different presentations and different, interfaces, and in your Google Classroom, in your Moodle Classroom, Moodle Learning Management System. The interface also important because the way you present, it has to be attractive. The pictures you use, the words you use, the fonts, even the fonts you use, the colors you use. So that, because that's also attracting to the students. So I think you, when you look at all the responses in the chat box, I think you have covered all these 4 aspects. So that's good. So I just wanted to focus your thinking that when you are designing your learning experiences, you have to think about all these 4 design aspects. How you design the information, how you design the instruction, how you design the interactions, and how you design the interface. How you design the interface. So all these things we discussed up to now, I think you can see we are trying to move away. We are trying to move away from this traditional knowledge transmission to knowledge construction. Move away from traditional knowledge transmission to knowledge construction. Now, can I ask some of you to tell me? I would like to hear some voices actually. rather than the chat box, if those who for possible to give verbally respond. What do you understand by what do you what's the how would you differentiate this knowledge transmission and knowledge construction, especially in an online learning environment? Yes, Kalistas Prashant has raised the hand. Yes, go ahead. Yes, Prashant. Can we, are you unmuted? Okay.
Okay, knowledge transmission means it's a teacher centered. Okay,
Mhm.
there the teacher is the person who gives everything for us, for students, and knowledge construction means is a student centered education. It means that students involved all the activities most of the time, and teachers are the facilitators and guiders. That is the main difference between knowledge transmission and knowledge construction. It's my idea.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's very correct. Thank you for that response. That's very correct.
Thanks a lot.
Knowledge transmission is totally teacher-centered, and knowledge construction is totally learner-centered. So it's a continuum, right? You can be totally teacher-centered and totally learner-centered. So it's a continuum. Now, can I ask someone else to elaborate? So that idea is perfectly correct. And can I ask someone else also to elaborate on this? In an online learning environment, what would be an example for knowledge transmission, and what would be an example for knowledge construction? Based on your experience, can one of you explain? Can you give me some examples? Yes, Sudami. Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Can you talk now? Okay, I think you can talk now. Yeah. Sudami.
Knowledge transmission as an example, if we give the mathematical construction thing, that means mathematical example, so any kind of assignments, direct assignment given the lecturer, this is a knowledge transmission one. Knowledge construction ones, according to the case study, like that, we can develop the construction of knowledge construction of the student.
What do you mean by that?
Case study.
Can you explain?
Knowledge construction means if we give assigning some kind of activity regarding the theory, how to improve more than that. That means practical scenario. If you look to the practical scenario, if you give to the case study, then earn knowledge around the surrounding environment. Then they earn some kind of what are the market study, the market knowledge, and also how do people deal with those all things we can be gathered from a case study.
Okay, so what you say is you are allowing student to explore by himself or herself, rather than the teacher telling, give the case study for students to explore and find out by himself or herself. That's what you are trying to say, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So another hand is raised. Okay, that is Ramita. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. For knowledge transmission, as a good example, we can say the webinar type of things which we conduct by engaging with the outside, maybe the outside resource persons, or maybe by ourselves as well. So webinar type of, we can say as an example for knowledge transmission. And knowledge construction, if we do the exercises with breakout rooms, or if we give them the take-home assignments via online, that type of things can be taken as knowledge construction things.
Exactly. Yes. Now in a webinar, actually, now this is a webinar, right? So throughout in a webinar mode, it's with large numbers, this type of designing is a little bit challenging, yes. So if you just deliver everything just one way, knowledge transmission is just one way, right? You just transmit, and students try to just absorb whatever possible. But knowledge construction is not one way. It's more interactive, many ways. So that's why you mentioned the using the breakout rooms and other activities where you will allow students to interact with each other, interact with the lecturer, and learn through the activity. I think that's what you're explaining. Thank you for that. One more would like to say, and I think some in the chat box as well. Yes, I will read out what is in the chat box. While one more person can raise your hand. I saw, yeah, if we use only PowerPoint presentation, it's teacher-centered. But with different media mixed with our PowerPoint presentation, okay, it's okay. Yes, that's another way of doing it. You can use even the PowerPoint presentation. You can use for knowledge transmission. But even the PowerPoint presentation, you can link with different tools to make it interactive, which we will be doing in a while. Okay, so that's another way of thinking about knowledge construction. Yes. Students engage in more interactive activities. Yes. Okay, anyone else would like to raise your hand and verbally say your ideas? One more person. Okay, so okay, like you get difficulties in getting your participation of your students. I think I'm also facing that challenge of getting the participation. But you're all adult learners, right? You're all, I mean, you're not learners, you're teachers. But we also, I mean, if we want to learn something, if we want to engage, we also should have some motivation or some interest. Yes, Muhammad Imam, yes. Okay, Muhammad Imam.
This is knowledge transmission and knowledge construction. The both sides, how we evaluate.
How we evaluate. You're asking me a question, or are you suggesting something?
Yeah. This question from online system, the knowledge transmission on the feedback from the students, maybe the knowledge construction from students, what they are doing, how we can evaluate the students and the teacher.
Yeah, good question. Right, before I let's respond to that, I would like to ask you to think about it. Okay, how do you usually evaluate students? How do you usually evaluate students?
That we are evaluate, that is in example, we are doing most of the practical session. When they complete the practical, we will do the evaluate, not online.
How? I know how. Give me an example. Like
we have a performance guide for each skill. And according to the performance guide, we will evaluate.
So you will observe what they are doing each step, and according to the guide, you will evaluate, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So now you're asking me how to evaluate, how to evaluate in knowledge construction. Now knowledge transfer. Now that is how now you are evaluating a skill there. But how they develop the skill? That's the thing. No, how they develop the skill, whether through knowledge transmission or knowledge construction. So obviously, only through knowledge transmission, you can't develop a skill. I don't believe only through transmission of knowledge, just transmitting, just telling them, they won't be able to develop a skill. They have to engage in activities. So that is the knowledge construction. So what you are doing is, the way you explained to me how you are evaluating, actually you're evaluating whether their knowledge construction has happened. But during that's what you're evaluating at the end of the process. No, you're developing you're evaluating at the end of the process. But during the knowledge construction, now the question is, during the knowledge construction process, how can you evaluate during the knowledge construction process?
That is better to observation.
Okay. Observation also, yes. Now observation that you are doing at the end. Now during the knowledge construction process also one way is observation, yes. But if you can't observe, say now in this online platform, you can't observe real life, right? You can't, you don't have physical observation facilities. Now can you think about a different way? Can you think about a different way of evaluating them in an online learning environment?
Final product?
Well, the final product, that's a good point. Are you only evaluating the final product? The process, that you have to evaluate both process and the product, right? The final product, how do we know whether that person has developed the final product?
That only through only video.
Yes, then either using video is one way. So you can, okay, if you want to observe their processes, one way is to ask them to, upload short video clips about that different stages of that process. And in the chat box, some of you have mentioned asking questions. Yes, we do oral. Yeah, I'm sure you're also having them report orally, verbally. Then the way you're questioning, you can make sure whether, at different points of the process. Different points of the process you can monitor. Okay, now I don't know what's the subject area, but whatever skill development, there's a process. No, the product comes at the end, but to come to the product, there's a process. So during we don't know whether the skill development or the knowledge is also needed there. Knowledge, skill development happening in the process. In between, whether we can see the knowledge is being constructed. So stepwise manner, we can design, if we really can't observe real life, you can use videos as you suggested, or you can ask questions in between, monitoring. You can think about different ways. So two things here are about asking questions. You can think about, that's why the teachers have to think about different ways depending on your students' level and the students' facilities available. You can even ask students to orally present something or show the process, if it's a product, in between different stages of the product. You can ask them to post pictures of those stages if videos are not possible. So you can think about different ways of assessing whether the knowledge is being constructed. Thank you. I think that question is very good and very valid because those questions make you think. Now that's the important thing. We have to think. Now we are faced with the challenge to think differently. No, okay, this is what we have always been doing, but now this is not possible. How we can do things in a different way? That's the idea. No, so if our target, our target is to see whether the students are able to do something. That's the learning outcome. No, you all know learning outcomes. The students should be able to do something. So whether they are able to do it, we need to know whether, if it's only the product, then we don't know whether the person has done it. Now we can't see it. No. So during the process, there can be different stages where we can think about using different strategies in the online platform to make sure. And also during the knowledge construction process, we can give feedback also. That's the formative. In evaluation, there's formative and summative. Final product evaluation is a summative evaluation. During the process, at different stages when you are evaluating, that's the formative evaluation. Formative means during the process, we can monitor and give feedback also. So that is improving their learning, that's supporting their learning, so that if there is something wrong happening during the process, we can help them to improve also. So that's another way of thinking, that focus is on supporting the students to learn, supporting the students in the knowledge construction process. Okay, thank you for those ideas. Now, okay, so you can see the idea is to move towards this learning-centered pedagogy, not just about the learner. Now we have, some of you already mentioned about being learner-centered. Yes, our focus is on the learner, but more than the learner is there, but whether the learning is happening. The learners are there anyway, but we don't know whether learning is happening in all the learners, right? So that's why the learning-centered pedagogy, whether a meaningful learning is happening, so that are we making it active? We start with intentional. Are we making it intentional, goal-directed? Yes, because I believe you all start with learning outcomes. We all start our planning our sessions with learning outcomes. So we know what are the expected learning outcomes from our learners, right? So intended learning, ILOs. So that's there. Then in order to achieve the learning outcomes, how are we making the students actively engage? Active engagement. So that's where we are designing all these activities during the process. And also whether those activities are constructive. That is whether we are giving them opportunities to do things, not only do things, but while doing, whether to reflect on their learning and see whether they get the feeling of developing themselves, whether they get the feeling of learning something new, constructing. That's the constructivist. Then also, not only individually, are we giving them opportunities to learn as cooperative or collaborative, as a group? Are we giving them opportunities to share ideas, share their productions, or share their innovations, share their resources? So together to come up with new ideas. Because sometimes rather than individually, when as a group, you can come up with a lot of innovative ideas. So cooperative, collaborative, are you giving opportunities for cooperative and collaborative learning? And of course, linking with the real life, making it authentic and contextualized. That, of course, I'm sure in all your subject areas, that is very relevant, because they are all authentic subject areas. So these things will result in a meaningful learning. So our challenge is how to make this meaningful learning in an online learning environment. So in any learning experience, these learning outcomes are important. I just wanted to focus your attention on this concept of constructive alignment, because we all start with the learning outcomes, course level learning outcomes, unit level learning outcomes, right? The intended learning outcomes of each unit or each lesson. Then are we aligning our activities, the learning activities and the assessments, are we aligning them with these learning outcomes? Of course, they have to be aligned. If they are not aligned, how? Because through assessments only we can see whether they have achieved the learning outcomes. That means if we want them to, if we say, give me an example of a learning outcome of any of your subject matter. Can one of you give an example of a learning outcome? Can you think of a learning outcome of in any of your lessons? Either type or just verbally say. The student should be able to, yes, student should be able to Do what? You know how to write learning outcomes, I believe. Students should be able to, you have to give a verb. You have to give an action verb. Okay, somebody has typed software development, but what's the verb there? Students should be able to develop software on what? You have to complete the statement, no? Give me a full learning outcome. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to, no, don't say understand. That's a wrong verb. Never use understand.
Able to do.
Yes, don't write understand, right? Don't write understand, because how do you know students have understood or not? That's a mistake we all do. We say students should be able to understand. We expect students should be able to understand, but how do we know whether they have understood or not? Whether they can do something. If they can do something only, we can see whether they have understood the concept or not. If they can say describe or explain or perform or do something, always use an action verb, right? An action, doable verb. Doable. Understand is not a doable verb. It's not an action verb, right? So students should be able to practice, okay, create a folder. Students should be able to identify, yes, so something like that. So, okay, the student should be able to use the modal auxiliary verbs. Modal or model? Auxiliary verbs can and could. Okay, so you all have different subject areas, so that might be in the languages and objectives. So I would like to get some of the learning outcomes from your practical subjects like welding, or you said you are having these different subject areas, or software. Somebody used software. Students should be able to develop software. You can complete that.
Do something.
Don't just say do something. Be specific. This learning outcomes have to be specific, no? Do what? Do what? Just don't say something.
Performance.
Okay. Okay. Students should be able to create a pivot table. Okay. Students should be able to manipulate percentages related to assets. Okay. So those, okay. Now I think you get the idea. Okay. So that's like when you write a learning outcome like that. So if you want to assess whether students have achieved that particular learning outcome, what should you do? How should the assessment be designed? Now, if you want to assess the student should be able to do this, all these things you have mentioned here, how should you design the assessment? You should design the assessment in such a way that you are assessing whether the students can do this, no, right? So that's the alignment. Alignment is if you say students should be able to create shortcuts and folders in the desktop, right? Okay, so that's an example we all of us can understand. Students should be able to create shortcuts and folders in the computer desktop. Then if that is the learning outcome we expect them to achieve, what sort of an assessment should we have? And what sort of learning activities should we give them? And what sort of learning resources should we give them? Now I think you can understand. If you want to make sure that students are able to create shortcuts and folders in their computer desktop, then we have to give an assessment task to see whether they can do it, each individual student. So that is assessment task. But before assessing, we have to give them some practice learning activities, no? So our learning activities should also be supporting them to, so we have to design some learning activities, giving them enough opportunities to practice doing these things. Then only you can assess whether they can do the required assessment. In order to practice the activities, you have to give them, now think this is in the online environment, right? You're not meeting them face to face, you're not meeting them in the computer laboratory. You only have the online learning environment. Then you have to give them some resources, you have to give some relevant resources in the form of the content. Now these relevant resources, the content you can give either as your PowerPoint, you can give a voice recording, you can give a narrated PowerPoint with your voice with showing how to do these things. You can even give a narrated video, or you can find relevant resources from the internet and link with it, and then give some exercises to do after watching those videos. After that only you can give the assessment and see whether the learning outcome has been achieved. So that is the alignment, all this. So we have to always remember this constructive alignment. The concept of constructive alignment is very important, not only in online, I mean in any learning environment, but especially in this online learning environment, because we have to link with the relevant online resources, not just giving some resource. As teachers, our responsibility is to select the specific relevant online resources, because we are not there to help them physically, right? So relevant online, either we can create our own resources and give them very clear content related resources to help them, and link those resources with some activity. Don't just give a resource and ask them to watch and do nothing. Give the resource, watching the resource, link it with the learning activity so that they will learn through the activity, and then take it forward to an assessment which will show you whether they have achieved the learning outcome. Yes. Karyavasam, yes. Yeah, let me. Okay. Yeah, what do you want to say? Can you talk now? Karyavasam, you have raised your hand. Okay, you can talk now. You want to talk? IP Karyavasam?
No.
No? That's a mistake. Okay. Okay, so when you raise the hand, we think you have to talk. Okay, so I think now you get the idea of aligning all these things together, especially in the online learning environment. It's very important because the students are mainly learning on their own. So we have to give fullest support by this alignment, right? So that's the thing to be keep in mind. And now we are moving towards developing interactive. Already you mentioned some ways in which you develop online interactive learning environments. So how to use different digital tools and facilities available to develop interactive online learning environments. Okay, now can you give me some examples of can you give me some examples of different types of interactions which you use in an online learning environment? Already you said questioning. Yes, questioning. Now I am doing that now, questioning you at different intervals. Yes. Other than questioning, what are the other types of interactions or other examples? You also mentioned breakout rooms. Yes, I remember that. Any other types of interactions? Any other examples? Can you type in the chat box? Quizzes, yes. Quizzes, surveys, Q&A, yes. MCQ, oral questioning. Yes, any other examples? Any other examples? Assignments. PowerPoint, how do you make? Okay, PowerPoint is interesting. Puzzles, yes, good puzzles. PowerPoint, how do you make PowerPoint interactive? How do you make PowerPoint interactive? Do you make PowerPoint interactive? Online polls, yes. Animations, yes. Free online tools, very good. So there are a lot of free online tools available which you can use for different types of interaction, which we are going to use in a while. Okay, so these different types of interactions let the learners interact in different ways. There are different types of interactions. Now, some of you mentioned PowerPoint presentations. How do you make PowerPoint presentations? You're giving the PowerPoint presentation, but how do you make it? How do you make this learner interact with your PowerPoint? So, or the Moodle environment, the learning environment, or your Google Classroom. So the interface. So are you encouraging students to interact with the interface, the learner interface interactions? So by giving links, asking them to go somewhere and watch an animation, or watch a video. So you are letting this learner, even without you, even without the teacher, if you are giving opportunities for the learner to interact with the interface and interact with the content. Now, if you give a link for students to watch a video and do something, then you are allowing students to interact with the video without the teacher, but they are interacting with the content because the video is giving the subject matter content, no, right? So whether you are giving opportunities to interact with the learner interface, learner content, and learner. When you have breakout rooms, you allow them to have group discussions, or in the Moodle, like online LMS, learner management system, you give opportunities like the discussion forums, the chats. Right? So you can give a lot of interaction opportunities in these different types: learner interface, learner content, learner, and learner instructor. So, it need not always be among people, right? They interact with the content also, they interact with the interface also. But with people, it can be even one-to-one, one-to-many, and even many-to-many. So when you know, now I'm sure many of you are doing all these things, but what I'm trying to say, just to focus, I mean, just to let you think, reflect on what you are doing and link with these different options. Yes, images, video clips. Yes, you all have put whiteboards. Yes, inserting media files, clear content. Yes, you have put a lot of examples. So I am very happy. That means you are doing all these things and you are thinking about all these things. So that's very positive. So how now with all this information or all these ideas, you can think how you can make them more, how you can design, how you can think about more design strategies to develop these different types of interactions, so that you encourage this sharing of knowledge. And we can link with social media. Students use so much of social media. I'm sure you must be linking with, now we have these WhatsApp groups, closed Facebook groups, and these sometimes even the Twitter and these YouTube videos where you can, have a collection of them. And there are so much of social media available now. And students are quite, students are very familiar with using this social media. So how can, social media is to encourage social aspect of learning, no? Now, social media is to maintain social relationships, but we can make use of this social media to support the social aspect of learning. Social learning is important, right? So how to make them use the social media in such a way to help their learning, so that shared knowledge, sharing knowledge is important, so that network, it need not be only within the classroom, it can be among many groups, it can be even internationally, globally. Global networks are there. We learn so many things now. Earlier I was not in the Facebook, or but now I am learning lots of things through the Facebook, and I am learning lots of things through the Twitter and LinkedIn. I wonder whether, I'm sure most of you are in at least one or two social media, but are we using this social media for our learning? Is it only to connect with each other and to share our news, share our personal news? That's one aspect, but we can use this social media for network learning. So I wonder whether any of you are using social media for your in your teaching learning process. You can type in the chat box if any of you are already using social media in your teaching learning process. If you have some experiences, you can type in the chat box, and you can even raise your hand and share your experience. I will give you some time to share your experiences at the very end. Okay. So I think there was a mention about integrating multimedia and integrating digital tools. I think that's very important in this context where we are in the online learning environment. So we'll engage in some very short activities where I will integrate some digital tools. I will share with you some experiences which I'm using with my students, integrating multimedia and digital tools to make it interactive. Okay. So what I'm going to do, so there are so many digital tools. All these are free digital tools. These are some examples of free digital tools available. I will let you explore them later on. I'm going to use a few of these tools with you to show how we can integrate these digital tools to make an interactive learning environment. So has anybody are familiar with any of these tools or have used these tools? Can I just query from you? I think there are some things in the chat box. Yeah, WhatsApp, that's about the social media. WhatsApp, YouTube, educational videos, blogs, yes, good. Facebook closed groups. You can have closed groups only with your students. WhatsApp, yes. WhatsApp is a very, we have WhatsApp groups with our students, and it's very effective. For learner support, because we are always, it's very easy to communicate, and we can give links. We can do lots of things using WhatsApp. Actually, I learned lots of things to do using WhatsApp, communicating with our students. Yeah, Viber even, yes. Okay, so I'm asking whether any of you are familiar with any of these digital tools. All these are free digital tools, free to some extent. Up to certain facilities, all these are free. But if you want more facilities, you have to pay. But the free amount is enough for us. Free amount is enough for us to integrate. Can I ask any of you have used any of these tools before or familiar with any of these tools? Integrating these digital tools to make an interactive learning environment? No. Yes, when you say yes, I need to know what. Just don't say yes. Okay, Mentimeter, good. So Mufaris, you have used Mentimeter, good. Any others? Any of you have used any of the others, other tools mentioned here? These are some, there are maybe a lot more. These or any other free tools, because I'm also not familiar. I have not used all of these. I have used some of these. I am also learning. I am also learning with my students. I am learning. I have not used any of these things before. In this situation, when we need to make the student learning interactive only, we start exploring the available digital tools and start using them. Mentimeter, yes, good. So many of you are familiar with Mentimeter. That's very good. So we'll do some Mentimeter activities, and we use some Edpuzzle activities. One, few, because of the time. I don't have time to, explore. We don't have the time to explore, but I would like you to explore on your own. Actually, these tools are very easy to learn also. They are very user friendly. They are very user friendly. Nobody taught them to me. I just explored, and during my free time, I learned by myself. Not all, I didn't have time to learn all, but some of them. But I think they are very useful. So I will just share with you some examples which I have done with my students, so that you can think how you can integrate this in your lessons, right? Okay, so so this is the first tool I'm going to share with you. That's Edpuzzle, right? Edpuzzle is a free assessment-centered tool that allows teachers and students to create interactive online videos. Interactive online videos, that is a short video clip. Within the video clip, embedding different questions at different instances. So you don't just watch the video at length, but at certain points it stops. You can give different MCQ or open-ended or notes or something like that, or comments. So that's something new. So either you can create your own Edpuzzle video, or there are already created videos. People have created videos and shared it with the others so that it's free for us to use. So I am going to use a video created by somebody else, which is related to what we have, related to us also, which I have used with my students, of course. So I will, what I will do, I will copy paste this link in the chat box so that you can go to the link and do it by yourself also. But I will also share it in the screen as well, right? So this is creating interactive online videos. This video is about instructional design. This short video is on somebody else has created it, and I'm just sharing it with you. Okay, so I will share it in the chat box. Give me a second. Okay, so I have shared the link in the chat box. So you can go there by yourself, but I am also going to use the same link and share it with you, right? Okay, I will share the screen now. Now you can observe and see how this Edpuzzle works. And while watching it, I would like you to think to what extent and how you can use this tool in your lessons in different ways. This is just an example, okay? Okay, I think you can see. Can you see it now? I think you can see it, right? I am going to start it. It's about the ADDIE instructional design model, right? ADDIE model of instructional design. So this is a short video clip, but during the video at different points, these different questions have been embedded so that it is an interactive video clip. Okay, so I'll start it.
In this video, I'll provide a general overview of the ADDIE model of instructional design. ADDIE is one of the most popular models for creating training curriculum. The ADDIE model provides learning designers with an essential structure for designing curricula in any learning environment, such as in education, corporate settings, government, nonprofit, or any other organization where learning takes place. ADDIE is composed of 5 essential stages: analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Let's take a look at each of these in more detail, starting with the analysis stage.
Okay, so there it stops. I didn't stop, it automatically stops, right? And a question is given to students based on what has been presented now. There's some MCQ question asking which of these is not a phase in the ADDIE model for instructional design. So that will help the student to think, okay, what has been already seen, because the 5 stages of ADDIE, analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Those are the 5 stages. So which is not a phase. So if the student can't remember, you can rewatch, right? Rewatch, even the skip is there. You can skip the question also, or you can click the answer. So in this case, it's interpretation. Interpretation is not a phase in ADDIE model. Then you submit. Then you submit, it gives the answer is correct. 100 out of 100. That means, okay, that's correct. So now you continue.
At the analysis stage, instructional designers gather information and make decisions that will make the training development process much smoother later. There are several major activities that occur at this stage. Instructional designers identify the training needs. Learning objectives are created that address the needs. They define who their audience is to which the instruction will be targeting. The training content is selected that will help the target audience achieve the learning objectives. The most appropriate delivery methods are then selected. The resources and constraints are established that direct by when the project will be complete, the budget allotted, and the resources available. During this stage, communication begins with those who may be involved in the design or implementation. This may include graphic designers, corporate trainers, and more.
Okay, so it stops again. Again, an MCQ question. What is one of the key objectives during the analysis phase? So it should be gathering information, right? And even making assessments. It could be both, right? Okay, so it says wrong, because during the analysis, now if you do it wrong, you will get, I just wanted, it's 0 out of 100. So sorry, either you can rewatch it to see where you have gone wrong, or you can see the answer is given, gathering in, this is the correct answer, it's indicated here, right? So you can continue. If you're not sure, you can rewatch. So this is the way the interactive video is created.
This information is used to guide the activities of the instructional designers during the next stage, the design stage. During the design stage, the instructional designer creates the blueprint for the instruction. There are several major activities included in this stage. The learning content and information is sequenced into logical segments or units. Storyboards are created for e-learning modules or training videos.
Okay, so this is not a question. So you can give either questions, or you can even give notes in between, because a new word came here, no, storyboard. Now the students might know this is this is about instructional design. Now in the design process, they are supposed to create storyboards, but if they are not familiar with storyboards, you can give a note with a link to read more about storyboards and identify, study more about that. So that's another support for students when a new word comes, right?
Rough drafts of scripts or training outlines are created. Digital media, print media, and other deliverables are prototyped. Communication continues with the design team and the SMEs. The learning project's instructional, visual, and technical design strategies are documented and reviewed by the relevant stakeholders on the project. These aspects need to be signed off before moving on to the next stage. Once
Okay, so this is an open-ended questions are also possible. Now I'm just showing you the different possibilities. Open-ended questions are also possible where they can type here. You're asking a question, why would it be important? So you can type something here or submit or rewatch or skip, right? So I skip
once the
at this
design
point.
of the instruction is signed off by the stakeholders, instruction is moved into the next stage, development. Several important activities happen during the development stage. The developers create, assemble, and organize the digital and print deliverables that were begun in the design phase. Training videos are recorded, edited, and produced. E-learning and any technological aspects of training are tested and finalized. The project documentation of the strategies are further reviewed and feedback is given to the instructional designers. Some or all of the training may be piloted with a select group of individuals, including members of the learning design team.
Okay, so again, MC type question. Which of these activities is completed during the development phase? Okay, so during development, you create storyboards, organizing materials. Yeah, we'll just submit and see. Okay, just organizing materials. Okay, so okay, and also you can even have the closed captions
on the design strategies
in English.
The project is
If
moved
students
into the next stage, the implementation stage.
Students can see.
This is the stage in which training actually is delivered. During this stage, videos, e-learning, help aids, and other materials are accessed by the participants. Also, the learners outside of the test groups now participate in the classes and training.
Okay, so this is another note to explain about, this alpha testing and beta testing, so they can read and understand, because whenever new word comes, you can give a note to the students. And also if students, some students find it difficult to listen and understand, the language difficulty might be there, so you can have the closed captions as well. In YouTube videos, you have the CC, closed cap option.
Evaluation intersects with each of the other stages of the training process. This involves two major components, the formative evaluation and the summative evaluation. The formative evaluation describes the examination that is done throughout the other four stages of the training process. The formative evaluation allows those involved in the training or curriculum development to recognize potential barriers to the training before they happen, respond to training challenges as they occur, avoid repeating mistakes, and make course corrections as needed. The summative evaluation.
Okay, so formative assessment. Okay, I'll just type identify the content. Okay, so all are relevant. So it's 100 out of 100.
Summative evaluation focuses on examining the outcome of the training during the implementation stage. The information gathered from the summative evaluation continues to guide the project design process. In the ADDIE model, these 5 stages are not always linear. They build off one another, and how this model is implemented will vary depending on the project.
Okay, so an open-ended question is there. So finally, it ends there. So the idea is, I just wanted to give an example of one digital tool where you can, you can create your own video also. Yes, you can. There's a question here asking whether you can create a video in Sinhala. Yes, so I suggest you can go to all those links. You can go to https://edpuzzle.com, and then you can create your account. You have to create, it's a free account, just using your email account. You just have to create a free account. Then you are given, all the instructions are there, and even you get emails, giving the features. I keep on getting features from Edpuzzle saying these new features are available. Well, I didn't have the time to check all those things, but my students, they have created their own videos. So it should be possible in Sinhala as well, because the voice, it's your voice, right? So you can create, you can even use a video, already available video, and dub your voice in Sinhala. So that would be interesting also, because then the students will understand what is given in English. Without that voice, they can listen to your voice. So there are a lot of possibilities available. So you can check those possibilities. Edpuzzle is a very, my students found it very useful. I mean, they are teachers. My students are teachers. So they find it very useful to use it with their students in the school, the children. Okay, so we'll check out another example.
Can you give that website at first, please?
Sorry?
That translating, you know, you told no, that website.
Could be possible. I haven't done, but should be possible. You will have to explore and see. What do you want me to share?
For that website. You
the
told
website
no.
Of, right. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, I will share that. Wait. Okay, I'll share it in the chat box. Right, so you can go there, and all the instructions and everything will be there. You can create an account and you can start experimenting, exploring around it. Okay, so now we'll look at another one. Okay, that is, okay, I'll share that with you. So that video, that previous one, that was only a 5-minute video, but during the 5 minutes, you can break down at different points and give short activities. So the overall experience can be around 15 minutes or something, right? Even though it's a 5-minute video, you can create an activity for about 15 minutes, because you have to consider about the time as well. You know, have those in between activities, record activities or the notes or the resources you can. Now this is another useful tool, which is called Padlet. It's a free online tool, like an online notice board. Online notice board. There again you can create an account. The teacher can create an account, and it's like a notice board where the teacher can post notes on a page, and when you share the link with the students also can post notes. Students can watch the posts of the teacher. Now the important thing is that post is not only text, it can contain many things. The post can contain not only text, but images, videos, links to other websites, documents, anything can be there. You can post, the teachers can post, and the students also can read and watch all those posts, and students can also contribute. So teacher can create an activity for students, giving some post and asking students also to contribute in that post. So I will show you one example which I have done with my student groups. Again, I will share the link with you. I will share this link. This link is with an example, but the link to the software also I will share, so that later on you can experiment by yourselves and think how you can use it with your own students. And stop sharing. Sorry. Okay, so this is the link for the tool. I will share the link for the example, and I will open that as well. Okay, so then I have given the link for the tool and link for the example, right? So I will open the example now. Okay, so this is the Padlet where I have created this this is my panel, my notice board. Now you can have different, what do you call this, color combinations, and you can have your preferable design of your notice board. Now here I have posted these 4 things. Now you can go to each of these things, and this is just a image. So when you click on it, you get the image. I just wanted to show examples of these design aspects which I shared with you also about information design, how content can be given in so many different ways. The same content there are the different options where content can be given. So that's about the information design. Then I gave something about the instruction design. It's more on these theories and models where you can, think about the theoretical aspects about designing instruction. And then about the interaction design, I gave a link where a sound clip is there about the 3 types of interaction, like this, right? So
hello everyone, my name is Rin. Today is November.
I will show that. And also about interface design, I gave a full link to a total guide about interface design, right? Okay, so okay, I will show what the students have done. Okay, I have to go back. Wait. Yeah, I will just show you how the students respond. Now, those 4 I have just posted, asking them to go through them and have their own posts, share their own posts. So you also can try. When students post, it comes as anonymous, right? It comes. These are my posts. So below that, students have started posting. So they also can post in different ways. They can just post as text, or they can post with as videos, or or put images, different things. So this whole notice board is free. See, you can give links, but this is just for practicing purposes. But you can really design an activity here. You can really design an activity to help students develop their, construct their knowledge, and sharing as well, because this will be there now as a free. Now with my free account, I think I can create up to 5 Padlets. I have access to free. I can create 5 Padlets like this free. If I want more, I have to pay, but 5 is more than enough, because once I finish using this, I can reuse it. I can delete these things and reuse it as well, right? So students also can create their own. Now I am the teacher, so my name is there, what I have posted. But when students, you also can try posting things now, but it will come as anonymous, because students' names are not coming there. But we can ask students to type their name like this, type their name and give the answer, right? Or if they have also created an account, their name will automatically appear. So some people might not like to create accounts. Some people might like, it's up to them. We don't have to force them, but the teacher can create the account and let the students interact anytime. Now this once you give the link, it will be there until the teacher deletes it. It will be there, so they can keep on. This is not this is just an example. I have not evaluated, or I have not created an assessed activity, but you can even use this for assessment as well. You can design an assessment using Padlet. Our students are doing different things using Padlet. They also found this very useful for they are thinking in different ways to create learning activities for their students, assessment activities for their students. And it's very easy. I mean, it's very easy and it's free, of course, and easy to use as well for teachers and students. So you also can try out these things. I will stop sharing now. And if you want to any comment, yes, in Edpuzzle also you can assess and evaluate students, yes, because where you are giving those when you create an account, now I just showed you the demonstration, there the answers are not recorded. But when you create the account and really use it with the real students, all those answers will be recorded. So even you can use it for assessment. Yes. No, not every month, not 5 days. You are given for your free account, you are given only 5, I think 4 or 5, I can't remember, I think 5 Padlets. That is, you have free notice boards forever. That's it, not per month, right? But those 5 you can keep. Now I have only 1 for the moment, but I can create 4 more. But I can even delete this and reuse it. So I think that is more than enough for our purposes. But if you want more, of course, you can pay and get the paid version, but I don't think that is needed. For our current needs, I think this is more than enough. Okay, so that's about this Padlet. Then the other thing is about Mentimeter. Now Mentimeter, some of you mentioned already, but I think there may be some others who are not familiar with Mentimeter as well. We'll do an activity with Mentimeter also. So it's a free online, again, it's a free online tool where you can create an account with your email. It allows interacting with your students using, they call it real-time voting. It's called voting. So you create, when you go to Mentimeter, I will again give you the link to go and see, go and explore and do things on your own later on. But we will do an activity also where I have created created a small activity where I will like you to, I have given you a question there, right? About the multimedia elements which you are integrating. So in the free version, to a certain extent, the facilities are there. I think that is enough. I think we don't have to pay money and do things unnecessarily if we can, manage with the free versions. So this is another useful tool. So I will again share the link of the tool, and I will share, first I will share the voting link. Later on I will share the link of the tool. This is the voting link. That is where when you click, you will have to click and go there and answer the question. Then the result will come. I can link to the live results as well, so that we all can see the results of your collective activity. Okay, so I will copy the voting link in the chat box. So what you will have to do, you will have to click the link, go there and answer the question. What you will see is something like this. I will show what you will see there. When you go to the link, you will go to a page like this, right? So I have put just a very simple question. I want to find out what are the multimedia elements you mostly use in your teaching learning process, right? What are the multimedia elements you mostly use in your teaching learning process? That is, multimedia elements are, there are 5 media elements: text, pictures or images, audio, video, animations. So what are the elements you mostly use? You can enter 3 options. One word, enter another word, enter another word, then submit, right? So please do it. And then I will share with you the results in a while. I'll give you 5 minutes to do that now. Please click the link and do it there. I'm just showing you what you will see when you go there. Okay, I will now share the live results, how I see it with you. I have gone to the live results page. So you can watch what's happening. See, this is what I see. It's created as a word cloud. Whatever the words you're typing is creating a word cloud. So see, it keeps on changing the size of the in a word cloud, you know, the size of the word means the number of the word used most number of times is the largest word, the largest size of the word. So actually I wanted you to type the multimedia elements you use in your teaching learning process, right? Not your name or anything else. So please type the multimedia elements you mostly use in your teaching learning process. So according to this, I can see most of you use videos because video seems to be the biggest size of the word. Then maybe text and video seems the okay. Audios, then pictures, images. So this is again another example. There are different ways you can get the output. I have used here the output as in a word cloud form, but you can get the outlet in other different ways also. So I suggest you go to the Mentimeter, create an account and start exploring different things you can do with it. Some of you are already using it. So I'm happy to hear that. Actually, you can create presentations using Mentimeter also. Now I have linked this to my PowerPoint, but you can even create interactive presentations in Mentimeter free up to a certain extent, right? Free, you can use the free version up to a certain extent, but if you want additional features, then you have to go to the paid version, which is not really necessary, I believe. I think we can manage. So these are three things I have introduced to my students. And of course, I have given all the links and they are exploring. Those who are interested are exploring more than, because you need some time to explore and learn and do these things. But it's not very hard to learn. It's not very hard to learn. And it's interesting because these are new things, and you can also get your students involved in doing these things also, because teachers and students together also can create these interactive learning environments, and you can always link these with learning activities. This is not just to motivate students only, but to link with their learning process. So you link with a learning activity or even an assessment activity, right? Okay, so I think most of you have submitted now. I think you got that idea here. Okay, I'll stop sharing this now. Okay, still it's ongoing. But I think I will stop it now, but you got the idea, I believe. Okay, so okay, do you want to ask anything or say anything at this point? I will share the link. I will share the link of the Mentimeter also. Right? for those who are not familiar with it. This link is for the tool, right, where you can create your account. Okay, so any ideas or any comments on that? Do you think those things would be useful for you? Are you interested in exploring and try to integrate those tools in your teaching learning process in the online? So I think, okay, good. So I hope and I think you would be exploring more on this, because within the short time we can't spend a lot of time. Actually, I would have loved to do a breakout room activity and ask you to create something and present it. You know, that's how I do with my students during a full day session. But this session is difficult, and the number is also quite large, over 100 things. Okay, so let us move to a different aspect now. What we just now what we have just now discussed is about this integrating, making the learning teaching learning process interactive using digital resources. Now you saw you can integrate a lot of multimedia, not only the text, right? To make it interesting, to integrate graphics, animations, audios, videos, all these possibilities are there. And they are not really difficult, and not now we have such a lot of resources freely available, which are called open educational resources. Now that's another concept I would like to introduce to you. Those who are at the University of Vocational Technology already know. I have introduced this concept to them also, and I am very interested in this open educational resources. I have done a lot of activities and research on this OER. These are free and open resources available in the internet, where you can use them without any violation of copyrights of people. You know, sometimes we might be using resources available in the internet, like we just Google search and find something and use it. But sometimes we are not thinking, have they really given us permission to use this resource? That's something we have to think about, right? Because all the resources in the internet are not freely and openly available. Sometimes you have to make payments. Sometimes you have to request for permission, get permission. Sometimes they say no permission is given. If you go, when you search for resources, and if you really go through their legal statements, you will see all the resources are not freely available to use in any way we like, right? There is this all rights reserved. You have heard the term all copyrights, all rights reserved, which there's a statement given. You cannot, you can duplicate, you cannot make copies, you cannot share. So many conditions are given in this all rights reserved materials. Sometimes we might be using them without knowing that, then we are violating their copyrights. The intellectual property rights are there. So the legal aspects are, we might be doing illegal things unknowingly, knowingly or unknowingly, right? Now the concept of open educational resources is to free us from this legal issues or copyright issues, where people are now the internet is accessible to everybody. So people are now going towards being more and more openly sharing their resources. If you just keep things to yourselves, if nobody is using them, there's no use for anybody. No, you create something nice, but then you don't want to share it with others, so that thinking they will copy it, they will do something, they will sell it or something. with that mentality, if you just keep it under lock and key, it won't be used by anybody. So then that won't serve, I mean, that won't be, you know, useful for anybody. But now my mindset has been more open. Now people like to share things, because then you get the, you know, you get the exposure. Your name is there, your resource is being shared by a lot of people. So with this open sharing concept, this open educational resources. So I will let you watch a very short video clip on this open concept. This is an old video, little bit old video. There are a lot more videos, but given the time, with this, given the time period we have, I have just showing you just a very short video to show you this concept of open concept. But there are, if you just search and find, there are so many resources available. So before the video, I will just show you the definition of open education resources. This is the recent definition. They are learning, there's an older definition also, it's very much similar, but they are learning, teaching and research materials in any format and medium that resides in the public domain. You must have heard the term public domain in the internet, where people release things into the public domain, allowing anybody to use in any way, right? Or some release with the copyright, that is, you own the copyright, but you give an open license. You give an open license that will permit others to use it in different ways. No cost access, that is free access, reuse, repurpose, adaptation, and redistribution. So these things are given, permitted in these open educational resources. It's called, this open license is called Creative Commons license. Okay, so I'm not going into details because it's a very totally vast area, but this is a very useful concept for us as educators, because this gives us, this allows us, it gives us permission to use the openly licensed material for integrating in our learning resources or our learning environments without any copyright issues or without any legal issues. So I will copy paste this video link. Okay, I can share the presentation, yes. I will copy paste the link of the video also in the chat box. And I will also open it in my browser. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I have copied the wrong link. Okay, this is the second one, is the YouTube link, right? The video link, not the Mentimeter one. That's by mistake, the previous one. Okay, let me share.
Education is vital. It enriches our lives, sustains our communities, and helps us grow into the future. At least, that's the idea. Truth is, education as we know it is failing millions around the world. Take Tando, for example. He's a bright kid with big dreams, but the education he's getting is holding him back. You see, Tando's school can't afford the latest learning materials, so he has to work with textbooks that are completely outdated. To make matters worse, Tando's teacher is also left using outdated information, often without even realizing it. And even if he manages to overcome this and gets into college, the cost of all the lessons, books, and notes he needs will land Tundo in a pile of debt. It's not just Tundo. This situation is being replayed in schools and colleges all around the world. So much for education for all. So how can we fix things? The answer lies in open education. Open education is a global movement that aims to bring quality education to teachers and students everywhere. The basic idea is to put top-notch learning materials on the web that anyone can access for free. You see, unlike textbooks, open ed resources can always be revised, so they're never out of date. Teachers are given free license to adapt them and improve them, giving students exactly what they need to achieve their dreams. As all open ed resources are free to share, schools are no longer limited by where they are or how much money they have. And if you think open education doesn't make the grade, think again. Open ed resources are being created by the world's most respected institutions and scholars. And the Obama administration is set to invest up to $2 billion in open ed in the next 4 years alone. From the highest branches of government right down to grassroots level, open education is changing lives. Visit creativecommons.org/education to learn more.
Okay, so that's a very short video to introduce to you the concept. But if you want to know more about this OER and the Creative Commons licenses, I will just type another link to you all where you can go later and learn more about this how to search for resources with these licenses. It's called Creative Commons licenses. So I am giving you a link which you can use later on to search for resources with these Creative Commons licenses, right? It says search Creative Commons. So as I mentioned before, these resources, the idea of sharing these resources is to provide access for everybody freely and openly and equitably use learning resources. That's the main idea of it, right? That's the main idea. Not only people who have money, but make sure that quality good resources are available freely, openly, equitably for anybody to have access to those resources. Now, again, you might say these are not available in Sinhala. My teachers always will say that who are teaching in Sinhala and Tamil, because most of the resources are in English, because the movement started in Western countries where they started releasing. There are loads and loads of resources available in English, but there are in India, they have started creating in so many, India has so many languages. They have started creating in so many other languages. And if you need in Sinhala, of course, we have to create, because in no other countries use Sinhala now. So if we want to have resources, some of my students have created, and you can create and share it with your students with relevant, licenses. I'm not going to talk about licenses today. It's a separate, session actually. But the idea is this concept. This concept is very useful. Even if you don't create, there are already so much of things available. All these sites are, some of you already know the Wikipedia, all of you know. There is something called Wikimedia Commons, where you can find a lot of media which are freely and openly licensed. Khan Academy, I'm sure free videos are available, and Vimeo, and okay, then what else? OER Commons, Then Flickr is for images. Then the Open University UK has their own OER site, Open Learn. Then Sailor organization, TESA is for teacher education. And even our Open University, we have a web page for OER created by our university. And so many, well-recognized universities all over the world, educational institutions are now sharing a lot of resources as open educational resources, free sharing of resources. The good thing is these resources allow you to not only to use, sometimes they even allow you to change them according to your needs, even to translate them into, your own language and dub your voice, according to the permissions given. There are so many things you can do, right? So that's another concept I wanted to introduce to you. I think it's useful for you. So you can go through the link I have shared with you, and you can find so much of resources, and you can study by yourself. Now we talked about this finding videos, and and you have to spend some time searching and finding, right? Because as teachers, it's our responsibility, to search and find things for our students, the resources. So when there are a lot of free resources available, we don't have to be scared about, any copyright, violating anybody's copyright. You just have to give the acknowledgement. That's it. And depending on the licenses, you have to study the licenses. But then most of the resources available now are giving you the freedom to do anything you want. That's how open it has become now. Okay, so that's another concept I wanted to introduce to you, so that you can make your online learning environments more and more motivating and interactive for your students. So finally, I would like to focus on this online assessments also, because during the other activities also, you also asked whether these different digital tools can be used for online assessments. Yes, because we all know assessment is also important. Now that's also has become a challenge now, where we are mostly used to this traditional examination oriented assessments. Can we create different types of assessments to assess students whether they have achieved the learning outcomes? That's the idea, no? Okay, somebody has raised the hand, or is it by mistake? Okay. So can I ask, before I tell you, can some of you give me any examples? If you're already using different types of online assessments, can you type some examples in the chat box? Okay, quizzes, yes. Anything else? Google Forms, yes. Google Forms, what else? Quizzes are very, we are all very familiar with quizzes, giving MCQ type quizzes and all. Are you doing any different types of now MCQs are also, quizzes also, just, test the rote learning, like whether they remember facts and figures and all those things. Google Classroom assignments, yes. What sort of assignments in the Google Classroom? Are you doing any different types of assessments which we have? Okay, PowerPoint presentation, asking the students to create PowerPoint presentations, maybe make PowerPoint presentations and create and submit them. Okay. Any other, in the online learning environment, are you using any other assessment types? Yes, any other examples? Micro teaching, okay, yes, earlier also you said, yes. Okay, so there are different ways of doing these assessments, as I mentioned before also, formative assessment and summative assessment can be there. That is, during the process also you can assess. At the end of the process, the final product also you can assess. So you can think about now all these things require the teachers thinking in different ways, right? Whether you are only doing the summative assessment, or are you thinking about formative during the process? Are you giving things that will lead them to the summative assessment? And also, is it only the tutor marked assessments? Are you using any peer assessments? Because now we can use these other forms of assessment, like peers assessing each other, because then they learn from each other. When you allow the peers to critically review another, for example, if you ask them to create PowerPoint presentations, if they all upload them in a common platform, you can allow peers to critically review each other's presentations and do an assessment, peer assessment, and self-assessment also. Now we are using the rubrics, assessment rubrics, where students can self-assess themselves. Before submitting the assignment, we are asking the students to self-assess themselves. According to the assessment rubrics, we have given criteria. So they themselves can, because we don't want to fail anybody. We would like everybody to learn and achieve the learning outcomes. That's the idea. No? So then if we can help them assess themselves, right, then self-assessment, to promote self-assessment, promote peer assessments, because sometimes you don't see your own mistakes, but then when you look at somebody else's presentation, you will see the mistakes there. So you learn through that also. And also individual assessments or group assessments also can be there. Earlier we talked about the product, not only the product, the process. So there are so many ways you can think about doing assessments, and the online facilities are there, the quizzes you already mentioned, the discussion forums are there in the learning management system, the seminar presentations you mentioned, blogs and wikis are there, audio, video, like we saw the Edpuzzle, and that sort of different sort of these digital tools like the Padlet and Mentimeter and Edpuzzle. There are others as well. You can use the digital tools to link with assessments. Reflective journals. Now we have introduced the e-portfolio to our students, where they are reflecting on their learning, and mostly the self-assessment, but supporting their learning. So there are so many ways of doing different online assessments. So these are like food for thought, so that you can consider so many considerations. So during now we are closing to the end of the session. So what I tried to do today was for activate your thinking. Reflect on what you're doing now, and look at the different possibilities. Not only what I introduced to you today, but all these previous webinars have introduced, I'm sure they have introduced to you so many options available. So when you know all these things, you don't have to use everything, but you can select the most appropriate ones in your context, for your students, for your subject, for your learning environment. So there you can consider the accessibility. Yes, you all mentioned the accessibility is important. Whether all students have access. If all students don't have access, what are the other options you can think about? Because we should not penalize students also. That even though the challenges are there, we have to move on, but accessibility is a problem. And clarity, it has to be very clear to the students, because unlike the physical face-to-face meetings, in online, sometimes students don't clearly understand the requirements. So we have to be patient, and we have to be flexible, and we have to be very clear. And also the efficiency, the time management, that we have to time everything. Now, for example, now for today's, when you're planning, when you're designing the learning experience, now for this, for example, this today's 3-hour experience for you all, I had to plan within 3 hours, what are the activities I could do so that efficiently I can cover all the aspects I wanted to discuss with you all. So time management is important, and of course maintaining the interactivity. To what extent you can maintain the interactivity within the given time, within the given facilities, within the resources available, and the purposes you have in mind, and keeping to the focus. That is very important. The focus is the learning. Now, today's focus on my session was online teaching and learning. That's very general. But then my focus was mainly on the learning part of it, the designing effective and interactive online learning experiences for your students, right? So as teachers, that's the main focus I had in mind. So therefore, you also have to have the focus, because otherwise if you deviate in different ways, it will be confusing for the students. And the consistency, of course, when you're creating the online learning environment, the flow, the way you move from section to section, the links between them, the consistency, all those things are important for you. So I try to do that, but maybe I don't know. I mean, it's up. The learners will feel how it has supported, or what things were not supportive. All those the learners. So that's why the feedback is important. So those are, and the flexibility, of course, we mentioned about that from the beginning also. Okay, so those are the main things I would like to, I wanted to highlight today. I know it's very challenging. We are all facing a challenge at this particular moment. Not only our students, us, the educational institutions, everywhere. It's not only us, everywhere. Even in the Western countries, even in the developed countries, these challenges are there. Everybody don't have access. People have similar challenges are there as well. In all areas, they don't have the connectivity, good connectivity. Don't think it's only us. Don't think it's only in Sri Lanka. It's everywhere. But people are facing the challenges and trying to think in a more positive way. And we as teachers should consider this as an opportunity for us to develop, because this is the challenge. Make the challenge an opportunity for us to develop, because within this very 1 year, or maybe now it's almost 2 years time, we have developed a lot of skills, developed a lot of changes. This has forced us. So consider it as an opportunity, and then I'm sure you all will succeed as online teachers, and your students will also be supported. So I wish you all good luck in your future endeavors. And once again, thank you very much for inviting me for this presentation. And I would like to have a small, Malkanti, give me 2 minutes to do the Zoom poll, final feedback.
Yes.
And I thank all the participants also for actively participating in the session. Within the, I would have liked to have it more interactive with Zoom breakout rooms and all, but I'm sorry that was not possible today. However, I hope you had some useful ideas. So let me launch the next Zoom poll, final Zoom poll to get your feedback. Okay, I will launch again just 3 questions now. Again, I hope you will frankly answer how you feel now. Okay, meanwhile, if you want to clarify anything also, you can type in the chat box. I will just give like 2 minutes. Okay, the presentation, I will share the presentation with Professor Chandana, and he can do, necessary sharing. Well, thank you for all the comments you are giving. I'm happy that you found it useful, but I don't like to use the term lecture. I hope it was not a lecture, more like an interactive session. Okay, I will end by 2 minutes time. Okay, I think again 57% of you have voted. I will end the polling now because it's almost time to conclude the session. And I'm happy to see now I will share the results with you so that you will see the overall result. So the satisfaction is good. Few of you are moderately satisfied. I hope, well, I hope that eventually it will be better. And okay, so again, majority of you are now quite familiar. So there's an improvement from the beginning. And motivation, okay, only one is just a little motivation. I don't wonder why, but I hope once you start exploring, and few moderately, but I hope once you start exploring the things and start doing these things, you will get, I'm sure you will get more motivated. And I'm happy that most of majority are extremely or to a great extent motivated. Okay, then thank you very much for your responses, and I will stop the session now. Okay, Malkanti, over to you. Thank you.
Hello everyone. We have come to the end of the session today. I like to thank our Madam Prof. Shironica P. Karunanayaka. It is very fruitful and excellent session we had today. I can see it from the responses from the participants. That is very satisfactory, excellent session we had today. So thank you very much, dear Madam, for your efforts. And before winding up, I'd like to make an announcement that the first day we could not have a one session, which is on the topic of learning management system session for you. So that will be conducted on 29th, starting from 9 a.m. onwards. So please try to join it. Engineer Asanka Patirana, senior lecturer of university, will deliver this session. So once again, thanking all Professor Shironica Madam as well as our team here and all the participants for their enthusiastic support and contributions. Once again, thank you very much. And we are going to wind up for today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you very much.
The recording has stopped.